everybody, and welcome to another Wild Hearts video, where today I will be breaking down the specifics of the newest weapons shown to us in the most recent trailer. I was given the okay to talk about these weapons in detail while I was streaming, so we watched the trailer together and I gave the breakdowns there, but I think it's about time that we have this in video form for all of you guys as well. Anyway, let's delve into these weapons. Once the embargo completely lifts, I will have full weapon guides, including Karakuri recommendations and all that stuff. But for now, I can at least give you a little bit more information on how these work. So let's start with the Clawblade. The Clawblade is a lightweight, short-range weapon that allows the most amount of maneuverability in the game. You can do regular grounded attacks, aerial attacks, and you also have the options of jumps and dodges, even more so than the other weapons in the game. The whole idea around the Clawblade is to increase the bar that you can see above the health bar in this trailer as high as possible. You do this by performing regular attacks with square and triangle, with aerial attacks adding more charge than your standard grounded ones. This increases the potency of attacks, but it also increases your claw gauge, which is very, very important. You can see this in the trailer here, where you can see the claw is lodged in the monster and the player is flying around. It's the little circle that shows the anchor point of your claw blade, and this is also the gauge of your claw blade. The claw gauge dictates how long you have to be swinging around all over the place, and when that gauge gets to be empty, you will detach from the kimono. Whilst the claw is attached to the kimono, which you can do by pressing R2 on your controller, you have full movement control. You can dodge in the air and you can also swing around the kimono. However, these movements do decrease your claw gauge, which is why generally you want to have that gauge as high as possible before attaching to the kimono, so that you have plenty to work with to dodge attacks, move around the kimono, and also perform attacks. Using different karakuri to attack the kimono will increase your claw gauge, so generally what I have tended to do is fill the gauge to about half, the one above the health bar, with regular attacks using square and triangle. This is a PlayStation controller, obviously. And then I will build a crate to jump off, because the move that you do when you jump off a crate is you send a kind of long-ranged claw towards the monster to attach to them. This will give me full or very near full claw gauge, which allows me to, again, have that maneuverability, dodge in the air, swing around, and also attack the kimono. Also, when you do enough attacks in the air without getting hit, without getting thrown off, without detaching, which you also do see in the trailer, you will be able to perform a powerful attack, which will then automatically detach you. This does a ton of damage, and you can tell that you're close to doing this attack when your character starts glowing this kind of orangey color. So the idea is you build up that bar with regular attacks, you attach to the kimono, you swing around, and you do your aerial attacks while swinging. You do enough of those, you can do a powerful attack at the end, which will then detach you from the kimono. This weapon literally makes you an Attack on Titan character and is one of my favorites personally. Out of all the weapons I've used, I have the most amount of hours with the Clawblade. I don't know, there's just something fun about swinging everywhere. What can I say? Now let's talk about the hand cannon. This is a heavy, long-range weapon that generally works around two different gauges that you'll be needing to keep an eye on. The first being the blue bar directly above the health bar in the trailer. You can think of this essentially as your ammo. In the game, it's called Celestial Thread, and when it's empty, you still will be able to shoot, but you shoot super duper slow without having a reserve of Celestial Thread. So generally, it's not worth shooting your cannon if you don't have anything in this bar. The second gauge is right above the previous one, and this is basically the heat of your weapon. If you go too high on this bar, your weapon will overheat, causing you to be able to not use the weapon for a short time. The time that you can't use the weapon isn't very long, but what's more punishing is that there is an animation your character does after you get overheated that could potentially cause you to get hit. So don't do that. Don't overheat. Get to almost overheat, but don't fully overheat. It's very bad. You're going to do it though. I've done it many times. In the trailer, you'll also notice that there's these little like flower looking things right next to the longer blue gauge above the health bar. These are called your key bases. You can deploy a key base by pressing square, and this works to completely refill your ammo, also known as celestial thread. And if you shoot while standing in one of the key bases, you will be able to continuously shoot as it refills this bar. You can have 5 key bases on the field at any given time, and if you want to move them, you can press R2 and square to pick up all of them, and then you can deploy them wherever you want again. Now, the overheating mechanic isn't just something that's there to stop you shooting forever. In the trailer, you saw the player move the cannon to their shoulder and let off this big ass laser beam, followed by a small nuke. The way that you do this is by working up the heat gauge to the top without overheating, of course, because then you can't freaking shoot anything. You can then shoot what they call in game a fortified key base at the kimono, doing damage, but also adding a key base to the floor. You'll see in the trailer that this one looks different to the others. It has like flames around the outside of the circle. You can then pick up this energy from the fortified key base and load it into your cannon, and that's when you're able to do this big laser beam move. This does stupid damage, like insane damage, but it does of course take some time to set up because you have to be almost overheated, shoot a key base at the monster by pressing R2 and triangle, then you have to go over to the key base, suck up that energy into the cannon with R2 and triangle, and then there's a slightly long animation to let the laser beam off, but it is totally worth it. It does so much damage, and that's kind of like your mini game with the cannon. Now, the thing that I enjoy the most with this weapon is bringing out my little helicopter and pretending to be a AC-130. Another notable Karakuri to use with the cannon is the springboard, because unleashing an attack with R2 after springing forward fills up your heat gauge pretty fast. The springboard in general is pretty good at filling these gauges on most weapons. Lastly, let's talk about the weapon that I think has seen the most hype around it, and that is the Karakuri Staff. The Karakuri Staff is a medium weight weapon that's actually 5 weapons in one. Yeah, I know. And it can mutate between all of the different forms. As far as I can tell, there's the basic staff form, there's a pole blade kind of looking form. It looks like the staff, but it's very, very spiky on each side, which I would say is a pole blade. There's also a dagger form, a massive shuriken form, and then what the game calls the Juggernaut blade, which you may be able to guess at what point in the trailer they're using the Juggernaut blade because it's very big. This weapon has close range attacks with square, mutation specific attacks with triangle, and weapon shifting attacks with R2. So when you attack with one of the mutation forms of the weapon, let's say the staff for example, you'll see a little orange yellow light around your character. If you press R2 during this, you'll do a fluid transformation attack going from one form of the weapon to the other. And then if you manage to hit a kimono with this transformation attack, you will fill up the gauge, which you can see above the health bar, and this is the mutation level gauge. The higher your mutation level, the more damage and the more moves you will be able to do with your Juggernaut blade, which is obviously the massive ass sword like we said before. You switch to the Juggernaut blade with R2 and triangle. So you don't have to only wait until the absolute maximum mutation level before using the Juggernaut blade, but if you want the most damage and you want to achieve the 3-hit combo instead of the 2-hit combo, you're going to have to fill the gauge all the way to the top. You can also unleash the Juggernaut blade by plunging from above from, for example, a block Karakuri by pressing R2 and triangle. This is a much faster way to deploy your Juggernaut blade, but you don't get the 3-hit combo by doing this. But it's definitely a nice thing to throw into your hunts. You don't necessarily need to go for the 100% 3-hit combo massive move every time. You can fill your gauge to like halfway and then jump off a block and do some damage. Then the next time you can fill it all the way and do the 3-hit combo. There's different ways that you can work the Juggernaut blade, but essentially you're working towards having the Juggernaut blade. Like that's your goal. So there you have it. That is a bit more information on these weapons and how they work. Like I said earlier, I will have deeper guides and breakdowns of each weapon when the embargoes fully lift, because I want to show you guys the training. I want to show you gameplay examples, not just from a trailer. I want to show you all the different interactions with Karakuri and what the moves do and what the follow-up combos are, but I can't show you yet, but hopefully soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. I cannot wait to show you the rest of the weapons. We still have not been able to show you the maul and the nodachi, which is a hammer, and then the nodachi is a greatsword kind of weapon. I can't wait to show you absolutely everything. But what I can say, these weapons are freaking fun. These weapons are really fun. I think was kind of leaning towards 3 weapons that are my favorite, which is the Wagasa, the Clawblades, and the Karakuri Staff. Those are definitely my top weapons for me personally. But from speaking to other people, it seems like the weapon balance is really good, because I've heard people who love the bow, people who love the maul. I've heard it all. So that's exciting. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section which weapon is enticing you the most so far. And stay tuned for more Wild Hearts videos, because I'm going to be making a ton. And I apologize ahead of time. It's going to overflow you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will speak to you later. Bye.